What is up, YouTube? pigandmeh here, and today I'm bringing you guys an oddly edited but exciting edition of Meh's Top 5, wherein which I'm going to discuss to you guys the top 5 wind monsters in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! So, why don't I quit with all the petty small talk and get to showing you guys my personal picks for the best wind monsters in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Alright, now YouTube, as we know, before, I get to my top 5, I like to give 2 honorable mentions to cards within every attribute, whatever, that I just have a personal affinity for. And wind, whilst being one of the more difficult to pick the best of the best from, wasn't too hard to pick some personal favorites of mine. Of course, start out with my personal favorite, the card that I just love to build decks around, because, there ain't nothing I love more than the ability to massively synchro summon. And the card in question, of course, is one Quick Draw Synchron. The cowboy hat is the bomb, and the fact that he was such an easily tutorable monster just meant some terrible, terrible things. And of course, the old dandelion, Droid loop for days. Makes my heart putter just thinking about playing with it. But, sadly enough, those days are gone, and the fact that you had to use a lot of cards in order to keep his utility up lent him to the world of honorable mention, but nonetheless, still one of my personal favorites. One Quick Draw McGraw. Next, another personal favorite of mine holds a little bit more history, but something where in which, I can actually explain a little better, and it is one, sexy siren herself, Carp. The one, the only, the Harpy Queen. Like my buddy Pygmy said, be careful, or you might get a case of herpes. What makes this particular card so good, but not good enough to be warranted on the list? Well, unlike every other field card searcher, whilst, Harpy's Hunting Ground at its core is a subpar card, it is still an MST in the form of a field card. And Harpy Queen is unique in the fact that she helps constitute the ability to blow up your opponent's back rows via this really, really strange-ass field card. And the fact that this field card boosts her to a level where in which she very easily can get through the vast majority of monsters your opponent's going to throw at you means that she actually has a little bit of utility as a card. Overlooked in plenty of ways, but hard as hell to find copies of. My second honorable mention, and one Harpy Queen. So, why don't I quit wasting your time and actually get to the meat of the matter, where in which I discuss the top 5. Number 5. Sorry people, the idea of editing hours upon hours of footage doesn't seem worth it. So instead I'm going to get back to showing you guys my lovely face and discussing my number 5 pick for the best wind monsters in Yu-Gi-Oh! And that being my favorite number, discuss one of my favorite decks, and one of the key components of said deck, one, Debris Dragon. My number 5 pick for the top 5 wind monsters in Yu-Gi-Oh! Kind of like Quick Draw before, he's utility in an odd form. Basically, what Debris Dragon here allowed was plenty of odd techie deck ideas to tutor out high-level dragons and give you an instant Black Rose button if you had to. Comboed well with the likes of Dandelion to create monsters as troublesome as Trishula, and, put in enough work to warrant his time on the ban list, where in which he was at 1 and now he is currently back at 2. Albeit time has weakened how good this card actually is, but still a great card nonetheless, and my number 5 pick. The top 5 wind monsters in Yu-Gi-Oh! Debris Dragon. Cuatro. Yes, number 4, people. And what's odd about that is the fact that my number 4 pick is a rank 3 monster. What, rank 3? Leviar the Sea Dragon. My number 4 pick for the greatest wind monsters in Yu-Gi-Oh! Why is this card good? Well, with Torghast running rampant, rank 3s have been an easily abusable rank. And this guy becoming a staple amongst them. What's so good about him is that he breaks the logic of the remove from game pile being the ultimate, ending point of where monsters are likely to go. He's caused players to have to think twice about what they're banishing, and he's, allowed a whole new slew of deck ideas to come, into fruition, and of course, overall, he's a great utility card to have in your extra deck. Stable at his core, and as such, deserving of the title. My number 4 pick, Leviar the Sea Dragon. 3. Yes, number 3, people. We're getting close to the top of this list. And of course, the cards get better. And how much better? Well, my number 3 pick for the greatest wind monster in Yu-Gi-Oh!
I got a text message. Elemental hero, Stratos. Yes, he is a theme-specific searcher, but how many theme-specific searchers can you name off the top of your head that, as long as they've been out, have pretty much been limited to one? Why is he good? Because not only is he a theme-specific searcher that searches the best theme in the game, he also has this nifty little secondary ability to completely decimate your opponent's back row. He's a brutal, brutal card that has been a part of some of the most rampantly powerful decks. And, of course, being an auto +1 in and of himself is something that is just hard to ignore. My number 3 pick, the greatest wind monsters in Yu-Gi-Oh! 1. Elemental hero, Stratos.
2.
Here we are, number 2, the second best. The card that was pretty fucking good, but just couldn't quite measure up. My second choice of the best wind monsters in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a card that accompanied well with the last card in question, and to this day is still something that I kind of am hesitant about ever really, letting run rampant at 3. The card in question, 1. Ryza, the Storm Monarch. My number 2 pick for the greatest wind monsters in Yu-Gi-Oh! Now, I will say, Effect Veiler is a rampant card, and something I, am more than aware of. But simple 1-for-1s in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Are always good, and the best 1-for-1s most generally don't destroy things, or they have a tendency to make things not, able to happen, such as Soul Taker on the likes of Elemental Hero the Shining, or Compulsive Evacuation device on his Zenmates. Ryza here, as compared to every other Monarch, has a nifty little fact that he does not destroy anything. And as such, he bypasses plenty of problematic cards and, anti-destruction cards that your opponent is likely to throw at you. And not only does he bounce something, but he bounces it to the top of the deck, in theory locking your opponent down for that turn, which is something plenty of people abused back in the day with Perfect Circle Monarchs. Arguably one of the greatest of his kind, and a card that to this day is still something that can be a pain in your nutsack, especially when they put that wolf on top of your deck. Tribute summoning isn't dead, people, and sometimes the best are still as great as they are. My number 2 pick for the greatest wind monsters in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Ryza, the Storm Monarch.
And number 1.
Here we are, people. Top of the mountain, the creme de la creme. My number 1 pick for the greatest wind monsters in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! I know, is that a card that has done its damage and is still doing damage to this day? What card is that? 1. Stardust Dragon. Now, if there's any card in existence that I, haven't ever, I don't know any other card in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Where in which I have heard so many people not run cards just because of its existence. Yes, the ultimate toolbox in everyone's extra deck, and a staple since it came out, Stardust Dragon here, even to this day, has made an impact on this game that is well more than worth noting it has been the best of its type. Now, why is Stardust so good? Well, simple put, he stops destruction effects, and then during the end phase, he comes back. In essence, giving you a consistent method of stopping your opponent from getting rid of your shit. Sans, of course. Damn, I got a text message. The ability to bounce shit, which we discussed with the last card and how good that is. But because a card like this has had to make people resort to methods of getting around it, such as, kind of in the same effect as Zen mains on a lot of things today, this guy has been, wrecking cookies of plenty of monsters to come, and, spells and traps and whatnot. The fact that he was such an easy level and being an 8-star to bring out, the likes of cards like the Bree Dragon and various other little nifty combos, means that this card has maintained a good amount of longevity ever since its release way back in the Duelist Genesis. With the ability to look at the metagame directly in the face and force your opponent to have to neg in order to get around it, even to the point where in which he has his own trap card to continue to keep him in every extra deck, in the day of Exceeds. I don't see any reason why not. My number one pick for the greatest wind monster in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is this guy right here. 1 Stardust Dragon. Thanks for watching yet another exciting edition of Meh's Top 5. Make sure to like, favorite, comment down below what you think about this video, any cards that you think I missed, and any suggestions for future episodes of Meh's Top 5. It's been fun discussing all the best of their attributes, and I know it took quite too long to do so. But, hey, content is content, and I'm glad to bring it to you guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure to go check out my contest, in which I am trying to up my subscriber count, and of course give away my bulk. This is Meh, Pig and Meh, signing out.